Hi everyone, Kylene Terhune here. I am a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and for those of you who don't know what's going on, I have stage 1A non-bulky nodular sclerosis Hodgkin's lymphoma. That is the longest name in the world. For those of you who have been following my story, you may have wondered when I was going to finally come out and talk about exactly what treatment plan I landed on. And some of you may have already been watching a lot of my videos and saying, is she going to go integrative? Is she going to go conventional? Is she going to go completely alternative? What's she going to do? I know a lot of you may be surprised by me saying that I'm going to use conventional treatment, aka chemotherapy, to treat my cancer. But many of you may also be asking, what other option is there? So the first thing I kind of wanted to jump on and talk about was there are so many alternative options to chemotherapy and radiation for many, many cancers. There are a lot of different therapies out there. For some people, simply changing their nutrition can completely reverse their cancer and put them into what's called radical remission or spontaneous remission. So for me, as someone who was like already kind of on that boat, I was very conflicted the past several months because, as a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and working in the functional medicine world and seeing what a great impact lifestyle and nutrition and stress relief and all these things have on your health, and then reversing all these health conditions that I already had using those methods alone, I was very conflicted because I was like, look, I know that there's another way. I know that there is a way that you can support your body to do its job to kill cancer by itself. And it's been proven in multiple situations that it's possible. But I was digging in and digging in and digging in and digging in and doing so much research over the past few months and kind of pulling out all the different ideas, looking at different clinics across the world and across the country and saying, do I want to go here? Do I want to go here? Do I trust this method? Does this make sense for me? And all this kind of stuff. And what I ended up determining for me, for my individualized cancer, because that's something we're going to talk about, is every single cancer is different. For me, with the life that I already live and my goals and my cancer and my stage, it just didn't make sense for me to go over to Hungary and spend 3 months in a clinic. So there's a couple reasons for this, and I kind of wanted to go through them. But what I would encourage you to do is make sure you do research. If this ever happens to you, don't let people scare you that you don't have time to think about it and make a decision. So, it is your body. You always get to choose which route you go. Don't ever let anybody pressure you one way or the other, conventional or alternative, okay? Because there are situations where one is way better than the other, and there are situations where sometimes it's better to use them together. But if you don't know what your options are, which is what we've spent a lot of time figuring out, and that is one thing I want to kind of talk about, is with things like this, with chronic disease, with cancer, with any sort of scary health situation, oftentimes you're only presented with one option. And so you have to be your own advocate. You have to do your research. You have to maybe reach out to other practitioners and ask questions. Ask your doctor to be like, hey, what other options are there? And maybe they will or will not tell you. If they don't tell you, go out and figure it out for yourself, because there's always more than one way. There's always more than one way. But here's the reasons I personally chose to go the conventional route, and I'm going to get into it a little bit here. So the number one reason, literally one of the biggest reasons, was travel and family. So one of the things living here in Ohio is we don't have access to a lot of the clinics. So if you'll notice, when you ever do your research on alternative cancer therapies, where are they? They're all in Mexico, right? Or Europe, or there are some in the States actually that I found that I was super excited about. And I was like, I'll go live there for 3 weeks or a couple months or whatever it takes, and I was like super into I will do whatever it takes. And my husband, you guys know my husband, he's so supportive, and he's he's like, I will, if you want to move and live there for 6 months, you can do that. You know, whatever it takes, we'll support you. Keegan's old enough. But for me personally, I was like, you know, while I'm going through this, I just simply did not want to be away from my family that long. I didn't want to have to go get an apartment in another state. I didn't want to have to live in a hospital away from my family. I just didn't want to do that. So there are other options for people who want to seek them out and feel okay choosing that. But for me, I wanted to stay home regardless of the treatment option that I chose. Okay, so I really wanted to make sure that I was around my family and wasn't like traveling like crazy. The number 2 reason was researching a lot of different things, and again, specifically looking at my cancer because every cancer is different. I was really, of course, concerned with efficacy and long-term results. So every single cancer is different. I'm just going to give you some examples. So mine with Hodgkin's lymphoma is extremely, extremely treatable with chemotherapy. Lucky me, I have the best case scenario, one tiny tumor, stage 1A. You know, it's like literally quote unquote best case scenario you could possibly ask for in terms of choosing this treatment, right? So it's gonna be the least amount possible, right? So efficacy and long-term results. I know that this is extremely treatable through conventional treatment in terms of getting the cancer gone and getting the tumor out fast, right? So for other cancers, for example, those aren't always as treatable. So their percentage rates of treatment with chemo, the efficacy of that goes down. So I was very lucky in that my cancer is very treatable, which makes, even though chemo is like really scary and there's a lot of side effects, I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do to negate those later, but all of that is like, you know, super scary. It's very effective for my specific individualized case. Now, if you take something else, for example, like breast cancer is a great example. It comes up a lot as a cancer that is extremely treatable through lifestyle, nutrition, mental, physical stress relief, that sort of thing, environmental toxicity. So people that drastically change their lifestyle and their nutrition when they're diagnosed with something like breast cancer, that's something that it's something to really, really, truly consider, is going full force with a lifestyle change for something like that. And so what you want to look at is, like, where are all the testimonials? Like, can I find people that have been successful in treating this cancer whichever way you're going, right? So if you choose the alternative method, whether it be, you know, IV therapies or simply nutrition and lifestyle changes or whatever it is that you end up looking into, has my specific cancer been treated successfully multiple times using this method? And what's the long-term outcome? Meaning, do these people get the cancer back? How do they feel after this? That sort of thing. What are the long-term side effects and what are the long-term results, okay? So there are some cancers, like I said, that the percentage of efficacy of the chemo goes down and the percentage rate of, if you change your lifestyle and eat a lot of vegetables, goes up in terms of treating that cancer, right? So in my situation, I was like, what the heck? Because I'm already pretty much living the anti-cancer lifestyle, right? I teach people how to eat anti-inflammatory diets. I balanced my hormones. I healed my gut, all this kind of stuff. I still got it. So I was like, all right, so are there people that have treated it with food? And I'm not, and I want to be clear, I'm not saying that this isn't possible, okay? So for those of you who are like, it's still possible, I'm not saying it's not. But it was very difficult for me to find examples of people that completely eliminated Hodgkin's and their tumors just through diet and nutrition alone. What I did find was people that managed or mildly reversed. So, for example, living with stage 4, they completely dialed into their lifestyle and were able to manage it and keep it, or reverse it back and shrink the tumors, or get back into an earlier phase or something like that. I think I found one example maybe of someone who had reversed it completely through nutrition. But the other part of that is, if you choose to do it that way, you live in this constant shadow of, I cannot make the wrong choice, right? So if, let's just say you have stage 4 and you are managing it completely through nutrition, you better not ever have that dessert for your birthday, because all that sugar is going to go straight to the cancer cell, right? So you're going to constantly live in that fear. And at 32 and stage 1, that's just something I wasn't really willing to do. Now, you guys know I'm willing to do a lot. So I will get into what I am doing and how I'm going to support my body through this, because it's still a lot. But in terms of completely depending on food alone for the rest of my life, and never feeling like I could splurge, because also you have to know your personality in there, right? So are you someone that would be able to live with that? Or are you someone like me who would be like, you know, I'm having a paleo cake for my birthday and I haven't gotten tested in 6 months. Is it growing? You know? So I really, really, really wanted quick results. I wanted it to be completely gone. And I wanted to know without a shadow of a doubt that it's gone. Now, I'm not saying I'm not willing to do the work to keep it from ever coming back, because I do believe, guys, it's what I do as an FDN. I do believe that lifestyle, nutrition, supplementation, and rest, and stress relief, and detox, and all these things, that's what's going to help you manage and prevent, and so that I never ever get into this place again. So that's the other reason, is researching efficacy and long-term results. I wasn't able to find as many stories of people that were successful in dramatically changing their lifestyle and completely eliminating Hodgkin's. Now, like I said, do your research, because every single cancer is different, every single stage is different, every body is different. If I had this and I was maybe like eating McDonald's every day, would I have maybe tried or been more open to like, hey, let's see if the food works? I don't know, maybe. But since I was already kind of there, it's a little bit, I felt a little differently about it at that point. And again, this has been a 3-month struggle, 2 to 3 month struggle now, of trying to kind of mentally wrap my mind around like, what do I want to do, and that sort of thing. So the first one, obviously, I said travel and family time away. I didn't really want to spend 6 months at a clinic away from my family. The second one was, you know, has this specific cancer, and is my situation appropriate to just do lifestyle? And I really determined that chemotherapy is extraordinarily effective for this. It's very short. I'm stage 1A, so I get the least amount of treatment possible. So it's the least invasive version of traditional medicine in this specific instance. And, you know, what was the best for my particular situation. That's kind of where I was going. So, and then the third one is, the third reason is I'm not doing it alone. Okay. So I'm not doing conventional therapy alone, because I am going to take an integrative approach, an extremely integrative approach, actually. So I'm not ruling out all the alternative therapies. What I am doing, because I can stay home this way, and because the chemo is so effective at getting rid of the tumor, what I am going to do is I am going to include a lot of other integrative therapies and modalities to support my body before, during, and after the process. And that's something a lot of people don't think about. We all know that chemo wrecks your body during treatment, right? It targets those fast dividing cells, which is why your hair falls out, and why it trashes your gut, because your gut is so cool. We talk about it all the time, how the cells heal themselves, and so your gut can heal itself no matter where it's at, right? So I talk about that all the time, but that's one of the reasons that chemo trashes your gut, is because it's those fast dividing cells. And so it's where your hair goes, your digestion can get all messed up, all this kind of stuff. So we know that happens like during treatment, right? But what we don't often think about is the long-term side effects for people. So people's digestions can completely be messed up. In my particular chemotherapy, it's called ABVD, which is the traditional form of chemotherapy for Hodgkin's. Those are 4 different chemotherapies, by the way. Each letter is its own chemotherapy, and they each have their own side effects. That's what I'm trying to say. So some of it affects your heart, some of it affects your lungs. I'm pretty sure all chemotherapy can affect your ovaries, which is why I'm going through fertility treatment and egg freezing right now. So there's just a lot that you have to be aware of, but those things can be long term. So what you want to do is, you just don't want to go willy-nilly into this treatment that can literally completely change the rest of your life. And not just because it's getting rid of tumors and your cancer, but also because it can set you up for all these health issues long term in the future. Like, you need to know this, right? So what I have chosen to do is, this is the most minimal amount of treatment possible. It's very effective for my specific individualized cancer, but I'm not going to throw everything else out the window. I'm going to take everything that I have in my toolbox and bring it in, and I'm going to use nutrition, I'm going to use detoxification, I'm going to use supplements, I'm going to use all of these things to support my body before, during, and after, so that I am as strong as I can be, so that it can negate as many side effects as possible. And then as soon as I'm done, that I can build up my immune system and my body can detoxify the chemo, and we can just get that flushed out of my system. So really at the end, that I can be at square one, ready to build 100% health from there. Does that make sense? So that's really the reason, in a nutshell, why we decided to go with conventional. Is just because it's so effective. It is going to be very short term, and it will just knock it out. But that was not a choice that we made lightly, and there are a lot of side effects that can come from that. And so doing what I do and knowing what I know and wanting to be as healthy as I want to be after this and for the rest of my life, I'm 32, I have a long way to go. I'm definitely going to pull in every resource that I have. So one of the things that I did in terms of choosing an integrative approach is I assembled what I call my healthcare team. So your doctor is disease care, right? And they're very good at that. But what I wanted was people that were concerned with my healthcare. I wanted people that know more than I do, that specialize in cancer, that can work with me to choose exactly what supplements and why, exactly what foods to eat, how I can tweak my diet. It's funny because I'm already so close, right? But these are people that can fill the gap for me and help me understand what are those extra steps that I can take to help my body during this process. And one of the things I'm so excited about is learning this extra bit so that I can bring it to you. Because one of the things, as like I said, as I poured into this research and poured into finding all of these different providers and all these different facilities that may provide alternative therapies, can you believe it? I don't think we have a single one in Ohio. Not a single one. And so something that was kind of laid on my heart was, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. Maybe I'm supposed to bring that to you. Maybe this is why this is happening. I don't know. But one of the things that Patrick and I have really talked about, and what's so funny is now it's just kind of evolving. I've already had this idea for several years, but it's kind of evolving. I really wanted to start a rehabilitation health clinic here in Ohio. And initially I kind of thought, maybe kids could stay there over the summer, and we could help kids that have ADD and behavioral issues, and we can help them with their diet. We can do some testing on them, make sure their guts are healthy. We can teach them and their families how to eat and how to live the healthiest lifestyle, and then we can send them off and into the world to be the healthiest adults possible, right? And I was like, that's so cool. I really want to do that. Then I started getting really interested in how can I help veterans, because with PTSD and things like that, you go off into you get deployed, and what happens? You're eating different food, you're stressed, you're not getting a lot of sleep, all these different things that compound in addition to traumatic things happening to completely trash your gut. And then they come home and they're stressed, they can't sleep, they have PTSD, all these different issues, right? And I'm like, well, how can I help them? And I was like, well, it'd be super cool if I could do some research and pull information about PTSD and gut health, and I could create a gut health program and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, that'd be super cool. So I'm kind of thinking, I'd really like to have sort of a clinic that just really helps people heal their guts, right? And do all this kind of stuff and really make an impact. So then I get cancer, and I'm going through this process, and I'm doing all this research, and I'm like, there is nothing in this area that is exactly what I want to do. Because within the first couple weeks of getting diagnosed, I was like, all I really want to do is go sit on a beach and relax and have people bring me green smoothies and bone broth every hour on the hour, and then I'll just sit there and soak up the sun and meditate and just let it go. And that's this reaction that your body wants to get in this relaxed place, right? And I want to provide that for people, and there's nothing here like that. And so I just think it would be so cool. And guys, this is totally just the tiniest little seed of a thought. It's nothing, actionable right now. But I really want to bring a facility to this area that will help people heal and will be completely comprehensive, that we would teach people how to eat, that we can provide all of these alternative therapies that we don't have access to here in Ohio, which is complete garbage. Or if you do have access to them, you have to drive like an hour over here and 30 minutes over here, or you have to go out of state for this one. I just really want to bring like the whole package. So if you guys are believers, go ahead and pray for that, because this is like a huge dream. I have no idea how it's going to happen. But I just think that's really cool, and I kind of want to put it out there because I think it would be an amazing thing to come out of this journey. But regardless of whether that ever happens, or I'm going to rephrase that, regardless of when that happens, regardless of how far down the road that happens, I'm just going to be using this journey to educate myself and then be able to bring more education to you, because options are something that you need to have. You need to be empowered about your own health regardless of what the situation is, and you need to you have the information available to you as to what your options are. And I think that's something in this specific area that we are really lacking. And so I'm going to do my best as I go through this journey to learn as much as I can, to absorb and to share with you along the way. So those are really the reasons why I decided to do conventional medicine, and why I feel so secure, because I'm choosing an integrative therapy. I've hired several different specialists to help me through the process and to be there holding my hand along the way and guiding me. And so I'm really excited I kind of am viewing it. You have to reframe things. I'm kind of reframing it into it feels like more of a rebirth, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I have to strip away a lot of things and get down to square one, where I can then build back up with 100% health and then live the rest of my life, and hopefully live the rest of my life in a way that helps others become as healthy as possible too. So that is what I wanted to share with you today. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know, drop them below, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.